Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tipoff 2022-2023. Dr. Ron Poniewasz, joined by the professor. Class is in session, Larry Kelly. He's going to instruct us on the game of basketball and tell us everything we need to know about our county teams. Larry Kelly, again, merry belated Christmas and welcome back, my friend.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. I certainly do. As I said before, this is the award-winning Tipoff Show. That has more to do with you and Pete Sirianni than it does with me, that's for sure. But I may know a little bit more about basketball than I do football. And, Mark Mangino, former head coach at the University of Kansas, during the football season, he asked me, he said, what do I know about football? I said, nothing, but you're welcome to come on the show anytime you want. His response was, how much does it pay? I said, close your eyes and what do you see? He said, nothing. I said, that's what it pays. And then he said, I'm not coming. So, yeah. So anyway, glad to be here. It's always great to be here with you, Ronnie. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And, first off, Larry, we're going to talk about the Athlete of the Week this week. And in our second segment, we're going to talk about holiday basketball, which is where we're at right now in the scheduled portion of things. But first off, in our first segment, we are going to roll with Athlete of the Week, and it's going to be Mohawk 6'2" junior forward Erynne Capalbo. And she had 3 strong games last week for the Lady Warriors. First game, she had 19 points and a 58-49 loss to Union. Backed that up with 26 points and a 43-42 win over Shenango. And then she followed that up, put the cherry on top with 32 points and a 53-41 win over Sharpsville, rather, for the Lady Warriors. So 3 fantastic performances. And again, icing on the cake, that last one, 32 points, Larry.
Well, man, I'm anxious to watch this young lady play. I mean, 6'2" junior, that's a Division I body, and when you're scoring half of your team's points, that's saying something, and again, if you look over the course of 3 games, she scored half of her team's points. And that the other coaches, we all watch film, we all watch Huddle, which gives us a peek of what's coming up. And so I'm sure they're game planning for her. But notwithstanding that fact, 77 points in 3 games. I'd like to know how many rebounds she had. I'm guessing she had a boatload of those. So this is an impressive young lady who, is only a junior. So I'm really anxious to see her play.
Yeah, absolutely. And the win over Sharpsville, Larry, Mohawk trailed 15-9 after the first quarter. They had a big second quarter to take the lead and eventually win. And she helped the team hold on to that fourth quarter lead by having 12 points in that pivotal final frame, 12 of her 32. So she was scoring throughout the contest and including down the stretch when it mattered most, when her team was holding on to a lead.
Like I said, when you're scoring half of your team's points and putting up 77 in a week's worth of play, you're a big time player. And again, I'm anxious to see her play because with that frame that she has, and it looks like she has the skill level to go along with it. There aren't many Division I women basketball players that come out of Lawrence County, but this young woman may be one of them. And with that performance last week, certainly deserving of Athlete of the Week. And, the Warriors are 5-2. They had a little bit of an off season last year, but it looks like they're back on track. They're back on track to do some really good things this year.
Yeah, basketball was a family thing for Erynne. Her mom, Stephanie, played basketball at Newcastle. Her mom maiden name was Guy, Stephanie Guy, according to our Cody Pattison's Athlete of the Week story. So I don't know, Larry, you're a Newcastle guy. Tell us about what you know. Anything that your memory can harken back to from that
that name. I do remember that name, and that was back. She was probably playing in the glory days of Newcastle women's basketball, where they were year in and year out a contender to win the Whitfield Championship. I think there was a streak there that in maybe 10 years they won 5 Whitfield Championships. And yeah, they have pretty good pedigree there at Newcastle High School, not only in the men's side of the gym, but the women's side of the gym also.
Yeah, I want to say 1993 was her graduation year. So I don't know how far back how they did. Yeah, she graduated in 1993. Cycling through conversation with Cody. So that's when she starred for the team or competed for the Lady Canes back in that era.
Yeah, 1993 was the first year John Trandria came on board as the head coach at Newcastle High School, and it's been quite a run since then. We've been really fortunate. What is that? About 30 years worth of a run for really outstanding high school basketball at the field house for the Red Hurricane, both men and women.
Absolutely. What do you want to see from Erynne Capalbo the rest of the season and these Mohawk Lady Warriors, Larry? They're 5-2 right now. They play Wilmington on Wednesday. This our video tonight is being shot on Tuesday, so that's tomorrow. They have Wilmington, and that's going to be a good basketball game because Wilmington has a very good team this year. Very, very nice record so far early in the season. So what do you want to see, Larry, at this holiday tournament and going forward?
Well, I mean, you obviously want to see her to continue to dominate. When you're putting up half of your team's points, you're dominating play. It's going to be more difficult as you move forward, and there is more film on you. All players have tendencies, and good coaches can pick up those tendencies right away. You only have to see a player, once or twice and have a good feeling as to what their tendencies are. By the time she gets to section play, there'll be 7 or 8 films available for these coaches to watch. So, they're not going to let her do what she loves to do. So, she's going to have to make adjustments, and the coaching staff will have to make adjustments also to find new ways to get her the basketball in one-on-one opportunities where she can't be double teamed, and then sets that give her a little better room to operate, again, without being double teamed. And, hopefully Mohawk can get their other players engaged too, because, a one-man show is never as good as a 5-man show in basketball. So, that's what I would be looking for moving forward. What kind of adjustments will she make as more coaches get clued into what her tendencies are, and what adjustments will the coaching staff make to make sure that they get her the ball and scoring opportunities?
Is film study going to be, as important for her as it is to make on-court adjustments on the fly during games, because she might see new wrinkles of defenses or new defenses totally game to game? So is it most important for that film study knowledge and getting in the film room and watching film? Is that going to be the biggest challenge for her?
Well, I don't know if it's a big challenge. I'm sure their coaching staff, goes over film, both of their team, both of Mohawk and the team they're about to play. It's one of the successes and one of the reasons for our success at Newcastle throughout the 12 years that I was there, is that the attention that not only the coaches paid to film study, but the attention that the players paid to film study. We spent many hours each week in the film room with our team going over what we do well, what we need to work on, and also what the teams that we're going to play do well. And I'm going to tell you something. It's paid great benefits for us at Newcastle. Film study and the ability to pick up the tendencies of your opponent, and the ability to watch what you do well and what you don't do well is imperative in getting better as the season goes along.
Absolutely. Okay, so Erynne Capalbo, Mohawk junior forward, 6'2", is our athlete of the week for 77 points in 3 games as the Lady Warriors fashion a 2-1 record on the hardwood. Coming up next, we will talk about holiday action and what teams need to do to get themselves ready for section play, which is coming up next. right around the county. We'll talk about that next here on Tip Off.
There's one thing I learned growing up around here. People should look out for each other, be friends and neighbors that you can count on. So it bothers me when people who are hurt in automobile accidents get bullied by the insurance company. I don't let bullies run over my clients. I do what I was taught growing up. Step up, stand up, and speak up for those who can't. I'm Larry Kelly, and I'm a Newcastle guy.
Okay, we're back with you here on Tip Off, and we're going to talk about holiday basketball with somebody that knows a little bit about the game of basketball. And he's been there at practices in years past as the 9th grade basketball coach at Newcastle. Now his gig is the varsity baseball coach at Shenango, as well as a member of the Luxembourg, Garbutt, Kelly and George law firm. Larry Kelly, it is holiday basketball season. Kids have went home for the holiday, to get away from school for a couple weeks. First off, tell us about practice. When a coach tells kids, hey, we're having practice on Tuesday, how often do you get a kid that comes to practice and says, hey, coach, I'm not going to be there. Aunt Millie and Uncle Jasper's having, family down in, Mississippi or whatever, we're going, we're not going to be here. Tell us about that.
Well, let me say this much. That doesn't happen at Newcastle High School at the varsity level. It just doesn't. I mean, it's 10 toes in the water. And I just remember as a player, I used to be so excited about coming to practice over the Christmas break because you didn't have school to worry about. Practices were normally in the morning, like 10 o'clock, something like that. And man, you just would look forward to it. And, it's important because this is the time of the season where you have about 10 days where you might only have 2 games. And so therefore, you're really working hard. This is an opportunity for you to get better. This is an opportunity for you to look at the film of the last 6-8 games that you've played, know what your strengths are, know what your weaknesses are. You'll have 2 games in about 10 days, and it's a real chance to get better, to really work on that. Now, are there situations where a player, mostly at the junior high level, I would have a young man come up to me and say, hey, coach, my family's going to wherever, Cincinnati, my aunt lives there, my uncle, maybe even a father or a mother lives down there, and I'm going to be gone over the weekend. We did have that happen, but that happens mostly at the lower level. You really don't see that much, not at Newcastle, not at the varsity level. We didn't see that. I can't remember that ever happening. It might have happened. It might. Every once in a while, it might happen because of the family situations. But, the Christmas holiday season is a chance for a good basketball team to reflect on what they've done, because you've normally played 6, 7, 8 games. Look at the film. You got 2 games to work on what you need to work on. And you have about 10 days where you'll have 2 games and maybe 8 practices. And it's really a launching pad, a stepping stone to the section games that are going to start right after the first of the year. So it's an important time, really important, too important to miss practices, that's for sure.
Sure. Now let's talk about these holiday games, and we won't use a school like a Newcastle as an example because they're 6A for boys, but let's say a school, doesn't matter if it's boys or girls, doesn't matter if it's Lawrence County or wherever, let's say a 3A school. What do you want to see out of a school going into after the break? Because if they're playing schools that are much smaller than them, like a 1A school, there's but look who they're playing. Now, if they're playing a team that's 4A, 5A, 6A, but they're not playing well against them, not getting the wins, there's also that but of look at the competition they're playing. They're playing much bigger schools. Are people like the media or fans even going to see what they want to see, or what do the coaches want to see in that regard when they're playing schools like that?
Well, you want to play meaningful competition. I find that when you're beating teams by 30, 40 points, you're not really getting better, because a lot of times in those games you may lose focus and you may start developing some bad habits that you can get away with against an inferior opponent, but you're not going to get away with it against a really good team that is well coached. So, at Newcastle, we always try to play some really good teams in our Christmas schedule. Maybe early in the season, we might play our opening tip-off tournament. We didn't have the best of the best there. But normally during the Christmas holiday season, we wanted to play good competition. I remember going to the CJ Betters tournament, playing Beaver Falls, playing Lincoln Park, playing those teams, teams that were really, really good and really, really good competition. So I think it's important to play good competition, more so now than in the beginning of the year. In the beginning of the year, when you're putting stuff in, it's not as important, but it certainly is now because you're getting ready to go into section play. And, I always said, both as a lawyer and as a coach, I learn a lot more about myself and my team after a defeat than I do after a victory. And, your defeats are oftentimes, if you're a good team and a good coach, stepping stones to your later success, because you'll look at that film, you'll look at it with your team, and you'll say, look, men, here's where we need to get better. Here's why this happened. Here's why, we gave up a driving lane late in the game. You were late with your weak side help. You didn't go get your guy and put a body on him before you went to the board to try to get a rebound, and a long rebound goes over your head. Again, there's a lot to be learned, from watching the tape. And I always find that you'll learn the most when you're playing a really good team who's well coached.
Yeah, and you mentioned that meaningful competition. Just a few matchups that I have on the top of my head. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, Newcastle will play Farrell for the championship in that Farrell boys tournament, and that's going to be a great game for Newcastle and for Farrell. Two athletic teams going at it. Girls, you're going to have, as we mentioned in a previous segment, Mohawk and Wilmington. Again, two very good teams going at it. Neshannock girls, I believe, are playing Greenville, and that should be a decent game. Union boys tonight played Quaker Valley, and I spoke to Mark Stanley.
They won. They beat Quaker Valley. That's a big win because Quaker
Yeah.
Valley is well coached, and they got some players down there.
Yeah, that's exactly what Mark Stanley said. Did he call 1-800-Larry Kelly and ask?
No, he didn't. But, guys that have been in this game a long time, we think alike.
Yeah.
We do. I don't know if that's good or bad.
That's bad for Mark Stanley.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah. But yeah, like he mentioned last week, he said, we're just trying to get games in, and they got a game in tonight against Quaker Valley, and then they're going to be, Union's going to be at the Neshannock tournament, and schools that are there is Neshannock and Union, Wilmington, and he mentioned the other team, and it escapes me off the top of my head. It is not a county team, but for Union, that's really big just to get games in, and you're going to have 3 games this week? The Quaker Valley tonight, and then Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, I mean, again, and just as importantly, you will have 7-8 days to really get better at once you watch the film, once you see what you do well, once you see what you don't necessarily do well, it'll give you a chance to get better and learn from maybe your mistakes. So, that is it's a really, really important time of the year, for teams that hope to make a big splash in their section and a big splash in the WPIAL playoffs moving forward.
Yeah, and this is a new territory for Mark Stanley because the football team got off the field so late and into the basketball gym for Mark Stanley. So you kind of wonder, should he dial up maybe Mike Jekovich of Wilmington, who's now Wilmington's girls coach, and say, hey, for years upon years, the Wilmington football team, prolonged things and kept the football players from getting out for the boys team when you were there. How did you handle it? I mean, you got to wonder if that's if Mark's going to have those kind of questions of my getting too many games scheduled in a row or taking it a little bit too easy, here and there to try to get them up to speed with basketball.
The kids that played football at Union are athletes. It'll take them a week or two to get in basketball shape. But these kids play hoops all year. They're basketball players and athletes. It's not going to take them long to get in gear. And again, a win tonight, I'm just looking for the score, 59-46 over Quaker Valley is a pretty big win because Quaker Valley, year in and year out, they were the Whitfield champs last year. They were the state runner-up. Their head coach has been down there forever, and he's really, really a good coach. And that was a big win for them. And I'm sure, that Coach Stanley knows that.
Yep, absolutely. And then lastly, with holiday action, the last part of the holiday topic is the first day or two of practice coming back. Sometimes maybe you don't really, I guess you would have probably a practice, but are coaches finding kids maybe not in the same shape coming back after the holiday that they were going into the holiday? Maybe too many candy canes.
Not too much. You don't see that too much because, again, you're practicing almost every day. The only day that we wouldn't practice normally is Christmas Day. Every other day, we're in the gym and we're working out. Not too much. Not too much time off. Right now. We're getting ready to go into the section season, and this is a time that you can really, really get your ducks in order and get your team ready to play and get into section basketball. So, too important to be worrying about eating too much holiday food.
All right. Larry Kelly, get your ducks in a row next week, my friend. We're going to do more than 10 toes in the water for section play. We're going to be in full swing, boys and girls, next week when we come back. Are you ready?
Yeah. Well, and again, I was looking at Newcastle's schedule. They open up with North Allegheny, Butler, and then Central Catholic. So those are probably the top three teams in 6A in their section. But the Hurricanes playing really, really well. I watched them. I was able to watch a couple of the games in Florida, and I like what I see. We're guarding the ball really, really well. We're creating pressure with our defense, which is a staple of Newcastle basketball. As I told you while we were off the air, I'd like to see a few more paint touches. We're shooting a lot of threes, and that's who we are. But, when you're running good offense, you get the ball in the paint. And when you get the ball in the paint, you go to the foul line because you normally are getting fouled when you're shooting layups. And, the last game I saw, the Newcastle one, they only went to the line about 4 or 5 times. And I'd like to see a few more paint touches from the Red Hurricane. But other than that, man, I like what I see. I really, really do.
Okay, I think Ralph Blundo had you on mute for the last 45 seconds. And
that's all right. Listen, if I was sitting on a bench, I would be telling them, Coach, let's get the ball in the paint a little more, right? Good teams they're not going to let you shoot those wide open threes. You're going to have to, somebody got to get it in the paint. John Anderson's been doing a pretty good job of doing that, but need to get the ball in the paint to make things happen.
And I like the balance that they have. Tonight they had 4 kids in double figures. John Anderson with 21, I believe it was. Isaiah Boyce, 18. They had a kid with 11, and Ralphie had 10. So, yeah, the balance is there for Newcastle.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jonathan and Isaiah are special players. Those 2 kids played for me. They were in 8th grade. They were special players. In fact, one game I called Coach Blundo at halftime, literally called him. And I said, look, these 2 guys are too good to be playing 9th grade basketball. You should move them up right now. And he just laughed. That's how good they were. And, of course, Jonathan is Sean Anderson's brother. And I don't need to remind you what kind of player Sean Anderson was. He was special not only in high school, but at the Naval Academy. As you might know, Sean Anderson is the only player in the history of the Naval Academy to have 1,000 points, 500 rebounds, and 300 assists. His jersey will hang in the rafters one day at the Naval Academy. So that's the kind of pedigree that Jonathan Anderson has.
All right. Sounds good. Larry Kelly, I appreciate you joining us here, and I wish you a very happy new year. and we will do it again next week. And everybody out there as well, Happy New Year to you. Enjoy the holiday basketball action, and we'll see you back here next week. Anything else, Larry?
That's it, Ronnie. Just, we were talking a little bit off the air about Franco Harris. My condolences to Franco Harris's family. Anybody that's ever met that man has walked away saying, what a wonderful human being this is. He was a great football player, but man, he might have been a better person. He was available to everybody, and he didn't care if you were a star or just a regular Joe on the street. He treated you the same way, and I think that's the true mark of a big man, not how he treats those who are important and can do things for you, but really how you treat those who are less fortunate than you and who can do nothing in return. So Franco Harris, sleep well, my friend. I'll miss you.
Gone too soon. Very shocking and sad news out of the city of Pittsburgh, for sure, with the passing of Franco Harris. Thank you, Larry Kelly, for joining us. Enjoy your holiday. Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to everybody out there. We'll see you back here next year, actually, too, after you flip the calendar. See you back here next week right here on Tipoff.
I became an attorney because I believe in hard work, fairness, and human decency. In a word, justice. Our workers' compensation clients deserve justice because in an instant, their hard work turns into hard times when they get hurt on the job. No doubt, life is tough, but so am I. I've been fighting all my life, and I'll keep fighting for you. I'm Joe George, and here in Lawrence County, it's personal.